that shit is going to hit so much harder and it's going to feel so much more meaningful when there is negative space for it to fill up and occupy.
Good music isn't as complex as people think.
No, bro, that's one thing lately I've been really, over the last 2-3 years, but especially lately, trying to go even more minimal with my music and use like 2 kicks every 4 bars instead of 6, like the impact that those 2 kicks give, or like the impact that you get from that one open hat when it plays every like 16 measures or whatever. Like it's so crucial and important, especially when you have a strong like hook or motif that takes the spotlight. When those other elements come in as secondary to the main idea, it just, first off, mixing will never be easier.
Yeah.
It actually drills the point of the song home.
Yeah, man. 100%, bro. Like, I love that point you made about the mixing being easier. The writing goes faster too. Like, if you're trying to write a solo for every instrument in your song, it's going to take you forever to write the song. Whereas if you're like, okay, I've got a groove, copy paste across the track, bass line goes with it, let's copy paste that across the track. Now let's figure out that one lead thing and articulate that, or the series of things that team up to become your lead motif, and then put that across the track. Like, I think it's something I used to try to do that was always holding me back, was trying to write all of the complexity in the first draft. Whereas now my process and my quality are like so much faster and better because I just bang out the first draft as this simple idea, and then I go listen to it again and be like, okay, where do I feel I should add a nugget of complexity? Just sprinkle it on like Salt Bae. Like, ooh, let me do a little mud pie, and like that turnaround right there will be a weird version of that motif. Instead of like, how can I write as many complex parts to be impressive or whatever?
100%. That's truly elite songwriting. It's like everybody thinks doing all the fancy flashy shit is elite level production, nerdery, whatever, mastery of your skill. I think mastery of your skill is like not having to flex so hard, because you're like, I can do this shit. It doesn't matter. I'll do it when the situation calls for it. This song needs 2 kicks, an occasional hi-hat, and everything else is like main motif. Just the main motif is shining.
Yeah, man. I'm working on an R&B song with the artist Wonder Wish that I'm helping develop and break right now. Super dope songwriter named Jimmy Nash, who does a lot of country stuff, but he wants to break out. He also writes really dope pop and R&B stuff, so we're moving him in that direction. And the first single just dropped, Chase the Sun. It's out on all streaming platforms. Hey. Holla, holla, holla. Wonder Wish, Chase the Sun. Co-produced by my Bounce Gang buddy, Flames emoji.
In the description.
Yeah, we'll put it right there. And then we're working on the second song, and he chose one of the beats I had in my available beat folder on my website. And he sent me all the vocals. I'm like, all right, cool. Let me go break back into that beat. Guess how many actual instrument tracks
6
were in this? What do you think, Evan?
6.
Wow, you guys averaged it out. There were 5. There was a kick, a snare, a hat, a sub, and an instrument.
See,
I guess
all the rest of the spaces is vocals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The negative space is so crucial. When you see that, whatever people will say, instrumental or skeleton of a song, you could easily make that into like an EDM style track if you wanted. But the main idea is like, you want to leave space on it so that when you have that main motif, now you have all of this room to harmonize or to like layer like an octave down version on top of it, or to like chorus it out at certain points. Like if you have, say it's an EDM track and you have like a vocal chop, right? That's like your main idea, and you just have those 5 elements, drum, sub, whatever. When that vocal chop reverbs out on the 4th or 5th one, and you let that reverb swell out before sucking it back in when the 6th one comes, that shit is going to hit so much harder, and it's going to feel so much more meaningful when there is negative space for it to fill up and occupy. If you have this mix that's just full all the time and you're cramming more shit, you could do like the coolest embellishments on that main part. It's not going to stick out. So, you know, really driving home that thought of a song should do one thing well. It should have one very clear message. You could have the most genius idea in the world, and if you can't, you know, articulate that to somebody, they're not going to understand that intelligent, beautiful thing you were trying to get across.
Amen.
Do you guys think about that stuff when you're writing music?
All the time.
I do now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all the stuff I'm talking about not to do is shit I used to do and had to learn the hard way by touching the stove over and 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 over again. So yeah, now I'm thinking about that. Like, how little can I do here? How little can I manipulate this? Okay, cool. I got a cool idea. Like last night, I was working on a track for Rave Gravy, doing a new mix of that track, The Nugget. And I was like, all right, I need an ear break. I'm going to go take a shower. And on the walk to the shower, I walked by my brother's room, and he's bumping some kind of melodic dubstep bass tune. Sounded really cool. I only caught like 3 seconds of it, but it was enough to get me in the rhythm of it. I started beatboxing to it. By the time I got out of the shower, I'm still beatboxing the same rhythm, 10, 15 minutes later or whatever it is. And I'm like, all right, well, fuck what I was doing. Obviously, I need to record this beatbox. And I beatboxed for like almost 2 minutes. I was like, wow, that was fun. And then I pulled out one of those sweet serum Reese bass patches you sent over, Evan. That is for that top secret thing that's coming soon.
There's a thing.
And I started jamming on it for a second, and I was like, ooh, D minor. D minor sounds great with this patch to me.
Always a good choice.
Did a simple bass line melody with D minor. Jammed out this one melody with slight articulations of the turnarounds. And like sometimes I did it like where bah, and it stops on the snare, and then after a while I just like held it so it was playing all the time, and then I switched back to the staccato mode, and okay, cool, now I've got like 2 minutes of that. And then I like grabbed one of those arpeggio serum patches you sent, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And I'll hold that for 4 bars, and then octave up, boom. Hold that for 4 bars. All right, cool. That's like the second half of my drop, escalation. And then it was like, oh, let me take one of these lead patches you sent and just copy the bass melody in it. So halfway through the drop, it escalates from just being the Reese bass on top of the sub, and the same melody as the sub and the Reese and this lead instrument over a beatbox, and there's a kick, snare. And then it was like, oh, and then I guess like a hi-hat pickup. Yeah. And that's the whole song. Yeah. And I wrote the whole song. It sounds fucking cool. I really like this song. It took me like an hour and a half to write total. And then I was like, all right, cool. I guess I'll like mix and master it. First draft done. Later on, I'm sure I will make it a little more complex in spots.
You want your complexity and detailing? You got... I know that if I sent you a patch, it's got 4 macros that do some shit that make the patch different. So there's the rest of your detailing.
Oh yeah, that's how I got the whole breakdown is the exact same line with just the subdue knob turned all the way up on the bass. And I took out the subs. And so it's just beatbox, subdued shit, and then just like whatever little FX risers and downlifters I had going in the song.
One really important thing to note is you can go back and add complexity, like you said. But if you start off with a shit foundation, if your song doesn't grab you just based off of those few things that you did, Luke, you know that like, all right, this isn't really worth going to and adding all this complex articulation because the idea itself is not strong. A strong idea should be very understandable and should come out rather effortlessly. And naturally your sound selection right off the bat should work and like mix itself sort of like, and that whole idea of negative space, so fucking huge. I know you could have crammed in a lead and a counter melody and more percussion and blah blah blah, but letting that negative space breathe is what will separate your song from all the other songs.
Yeah,
so important.
100%, man. Yeah, like the song, that's something I really had to learn. It took me too long, but maybe a lot of y'all out there in TV land can get this way quicker than I ever did. The song is not its production. The song is like the lead one thing that makes you know that it's that song. That's why cover versions exist, because you can take that same exact vocal and chord progression and put any kind of production, take it to any genre ever, and it's still that song with new production. The production is what you do to highlight the fact that this is a dope song, not the song itself.
Absolutely.
I like it. What's up, humans? It's Luke, your friendly neighborhood trap Jesus. Thank you so much for watching our videos. We appreciate you. Remember to like and subscribe to our channels. And if you have any questions or topics that we need to cover on the show, put them in the comments. Appreciate you. Peace and peace among worlds.